I am about to graduate college in literally like 2 weeks, right? And I know it's an early graduation, but that's just the way my university does it. And as I've kind of been going through this thought process of graduation, it just occurred to me that it has taken me 5 years to get this bachelor's degree in computer science, and I have learned literally so many lessons from the very dawn of graduating high school to where I am today, going to three different universities. I've learned a lot of lessons, and I just want to go over a broad overview, broad spectrum, some of my thoughts of the whole college experience. This video is probably going to be especially important to you if you're in high school right now and if you're thinking about going to the higher education route. Before I get into my whole college journey, I want to start with a point about being smart in high school or just being smart in general. If you consider yourself smart, or if you've always gotten good grades, you're book smart, and you're choosing a degree with a promising high salary for computer science. For me, it was computer science, right? But it might be engineering or STEM or pre med. You need to prepare yourself mentally for actually struggling. Because if you're someone who is smart, chances are stuff came to you easy, right? You didn't have to work very hard for it. With me in computer science, I kind of knew what I was getting into, right? At the time, I knew I was going to have to bang my head against the keyboard to understand some of these concepts. But not all people are like that. And because of that, you're at more of a disadvantage than someone who is less smart, but more highly motivated to learn because they are going to put in more effort than you, right? And this is especially true if you're doing CS and you need to understand certain concepts with data structures and algorithms, like recursion, for example. That's something that gets a lot of people, or just other hard programming concepts, right? Chances are your professor in college isn't going to just let you chat GPT your way through these classes, right? They're going to make the tests.
Unchattable, if that makes sense.
Unchuttable. If that
So if you're a smart person in high school, you need to understand that you're gonna have to put in effort for these harder, more promising degree paths, because you will struggle and you will likely fail if you just think it's going to be a walk in the park. Prepare yourself for that because if you're not motivated to learn, you need to be someone who loves to learn if you're going to be successful. I saw a great video on this by the Math Sorcerer, mostly geared towards CS people, but I think it's definitely applicable to anyone who's doing a harder degree path that's not like liberal arts or something. No shade at all to the liberal arts people or the English majors. We still do need those degree paths, I think. Some people would argue otherwise, but yeah, needed to make that point clear before I jump into my personal story. So, without further ado, let me go into the very beginning of my university experience.
community college.
Dude, let me tell you, there are so many things I could talk about with community college. Coming out of high school, bro, my plan was to go to a big 4 year university, but it just didn't work out. I got waitlisted. This was 5 years ago, right? So we're thinking COVID time. Um, Graduation and high school in and of itself was just kind of chopped at the time with the way that the
The virus.
was being treated. But all that to say, I was pretty aimless. So community college was pretty much the best route for me to go down. Even though I had really good grades in high school, I was actually one of like anyone who had a 4.0 in high school had a valedictorian status. It wasn't like one student in our class was a valedictorian. It was like, no, if you made a certain threshold GPA above 4.0, you were a valedictorian. So I had good grades. I had a decent ACT score. Not even trying to say this to sound boastful or prideful. I'm just trying to make this the point that I had the good grades, but I still didn't even get into the big university I wanted to. Which looking back, this is the thing, dude. When you look back, bro, that was all God's timing, bro. Because if I went to a 4 year university, guarantee you, bro, I would have at least $20,000 in loans minimum, probably. Maybe
Probably way more. Like,
Going community college, do not, I repeat, do not listen to your friends in whenever they say community college is chopped. I mean, there are parts of it, yes, certainly that are, but for the price, the fiscal objective price of community college, it is so much better than any four-year university, and you should not pass that up. Especially if your high school offers dual enrollment, dual credits, you need to jump on that if you're thinking about getting a degree. So that was a bit of a tangent, but I ended up choosing computer science. I was pretty aimless for the first semester. And then I remembered a class I had taken in high school, which was where we were essentially a computer hardware class. And it's what led me to being a CS, the current CS chud that I am. I built my first gaming PC. And so I thought, oh, if I can build a gaming PC, then surely computer science is the right degree for me.
right?
Little did I know at the time that AI would take over as strongly as it did. But my thinking was, everyone was saying at the time, CS degrees are the way to go. You're going to get so many good opportunities with your job. And at the time, how could they have known, right? That was a accurate assessment of the current job market and the trends. Especially like financially, I was thinking a bit more financially wise instead of what I actually wanted to do. But all that to say, I was thinking, let's go for the money option more so than the passion option, which honestly isn't like when you're talking about your whole work, your job. I do think there's a good argument to be made to separate your passions from your job life, because if you do end up making the passion the job, then that's probably going to end up to you hating the passion as you get
Sucked into it.
more and more, and it's your source of income. But that's a whole nother tangent. I'm getting going on a bunch of tangents today. I apologize, guys. Basically, community college, it was
Chopped.
I'm not gonna lie. It was cheap, but it was chopped. The professors, some of them just didn't even care. Others cared too much, and they would, give you a bad grade for the slightest mess up on a paper or an assignment. And that's just the way it is. You don't have any control over that, and so all you can really do is
Take it on the face.
pause. That is not the term I wanted to use there. Keep your chin up and just keep moving forward. So I graduated my 2-year university. I was expecting my community college to at least somewhat emulate a large university with the classrooms, but it was basically high school all over again for me, at least with my particular community college. Not a very thrilling time of my life. I did make some bad decisions during this time of my life because I wanted so badly to have that early freshman, sophomore partying college experience. And let me tell you, man, do not outsource the partying experience if you're in community college by going to a larger university and going to parties at larger universities. It's just not the move. And also, the whole partying thing aside, I'll get into that a little bit later. But if you're in community college, you're in there for a reason. Do not fumble that opportunity, is what I'm trying to tell you. But moving on, I finished my 2-year university, and I had a buddy of mine, a very close buddy from high school, who wanted me to come to the university he went to, which was really large. A lot of people go to this university. It's in a city, and the city itself is highly populated. So the cost of living was
Enormous.
I knew this going into this decision. I decided to go with it anyways, and I paid for it. I'm not gonna lie. I knew in the back of my head this is probably too expensive for me. It's probably more than I can handle, but I went with it anyways. And you know, I I wouldn't say I'm still recovering from it. I'm actually not. I think a ton of benefits came from this college experience that I didn't see at the time. Like I was going on a tangent earlier. A lot of the times, the lessons you learn are
Posthumously.
after the fact, and you don't understand the value of them until after you learn them later down the line. So this huge university, there was It was basically a commuter college. So it was it was a big university, right? But it's ironic. I was like, I wanted that bigger college experience, but the college I went to was essentially a big community college for the area. I won't drop the name of the university, but if you've been to something similar, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. Essentially, there's no campus life, but then during the week, during actual school hours, the campus is absolutely flooded with people. So it's a very weird dynamic. You're expecting the college life, but you're just getting community college part two. And let me tell you something. With these huge classrooms at this big college, the professors didn't give a single care in the world about you, your attendance, or your grade. So this was something I noticed pretty quickly, and it was a wake up call for me to
Genuinely,
lock in and actually do well because in community college, I got by with good grades. I tried, but I didn't try very, very hard, if that makes sense. So it was here that I kind of realized I need to try. So that was a bit of a wake up call. And another huge wake up call was moving out of my parents' house. Because in this whole community college phase of my life, I was in my parents' house the entire time. Moving out of my parents' house and going to a huge city, pretty much with an expensive rent, and living with roommates for the first time, total strangers, that was a whole ordeal in and of itself. That was where a majority of the lessons I learned while I was in this phase of my life were formed. Basically, the roommate who convinced me to go to this college, he was the president of the fraternity at this school, of a fraternity at this school. And holy cow, dude. So many problems stemmed from this. This is where I truly kind of figured out and learned the lesson that the party lifestyle is the worst lifestyle to live. Let me tell you, man. I didn't move into a party house or a frat house per se, but because he was the president of his fraternity, there was constant fraternal activities partaking at our house, at our
domicile.
if you pick up what I'm putting down. And basically, this just led to originally we were great friends. This just led to us our relationship deteriorating because I wasn't about that. I was locked in on the gym, locked in on school, locked in at trying to afford.
Rent.
His parents paid for his rent. His parents paid for his school, his car, everything. I had to worry about all the financials on my own. So for him, it was all fun and games, right? But for me, it was like
Survival.
life and death over here. And that's what got to me because he was trying to get me involved with all of his fraternal stuff, and I was not about it, right? I was trying to do all those things I just mentioned. And this just led to
The crack in
the crack in the relationship forming and getting bigger and bigger and bigger as time went on. His girlfriend also had a huge part to play, but basically he was just a disgusting, messy frat president, right? And I thought at the time he was a good friend of mine when I made the decision to go to that college. I didn't know a whole lot about his fraternal side and the frat activities he was partaking in. But yeah, all that to say, be very mindful of moving in with one of your good friends from high school if you're going to go to college with them. It will test your relationship with him, and most likely
It will ruin it, if I'm being completely honest.
I have never heard of a move in with a best friend going well over a long period of time. I just don't think it happens a whole lot. If anything, the differences of your friendship are exaggerated, and you're basically just going to disagree with them pretty much over anything and everything small, whether it's doing the dishes, taking out the trash, or whenever you're allowed to have friends over, right?
during what hours of the day is that appropriate?
So yeah, while that happened, I lost that one good friend. I will say a great thing came out of this phase of my life, and that is I met.
Bro.
I'm talking about bro here, not like a good friend or an acquaintance. I met my best friend when I moved into this house because I didn't know anyone else besides that one friend who was the frat president moving into it. So I was kind of going in there a little blindsided. I didn't know the other two guys. It was four guys total with me, and I didn't know the other two guys who were there. So one of them turned out to be an autistic rich kid, and the other turned out to be bro, if that makes sense. We basically just connected after the first few weeks, and we went on some hikes. This is
It sounds so gay.
we just connected, right? And when you meet someone, especially if it's your bro, if you can relate to this, if you meet bro, it's bro. Like you can say things that you wouldn't say to other people, and he's gonna laugh at your jokes. He's gonna get what you're saying. He's gonna be interlinked with your thought process. That's exactly how it was with bro. So if I had to go over, if I had to take out the loans I did and make all the mistakes I did during this big university period of my life, I would do it all over again just to meet bro. I'm being that serious because if you want to go fast, bro, you should go alone. But if you want to go far, you got to go with bro. I'm not even kidding here. Like I would do it all over again for him. Not even to sound gay. That's my ride or die right there. So, anyways, enough
Blazing of
bro. After that, I basically did one full semester, and I started a second semester, and then I heard some news about a smaller university closer to my hometown that had free tuition. So I saw this free tuition, and I'm not gonna lie, my eyes lit up. I basically decided like the same day or the next day to drop out of the spring semester at the large university and transfer into the following fall semester at the smaller university. And so this would make my third university I'm going to, right? Unfortunately, this did mean I had to move out with my current roommates, one of them being bro, right? So, yeah, that was a bit of a sad period because I ended up moving in with two other complete strangers who aren't bad at all. They're not bad at all compared to my last living situation. So now that I'm at this smaller university, I've basically been spending the last 2 years of my life just grinding away at finishing this computer science degree. And since it's a smaller university, I will say the difference between the way professors treat you at the small university versus the big university, it's uncanny. If you're in high school right now and you're looking for a place to actually learn and to pick up solid skills to prepare you for the job market, do not go for the big university just because it's got what's the word, notoriety or a certain level of like polish to it. Obviously, if it's your dream school, go for it. But the large universities tend to be overrated in my observations and opinions, and the smaller universities will maybe test you more with actual real world projects and less theory. And for that reason, you'll probably learn a lot more, especially if you have a good relationship with your professor. So that's definitely something I learned going through my degree at this smaller university. And it's actually way more enjoyable whenever you form a connection with your professor and they have an actual level of passion to teaching you their craft. Yeah, what more can I say about this? Oh, dude, let me tell you. I touched on the frat stuff earlier, but being at this smaller university, it did have a campus life compared to the bigger university, ironically enough. Even though it's a smaller, like less people going there was more of a campus life because it wasn't a commuter college. It was a college town. That was a key difference between the two. So the fraternal activities present here in this smaller college are very prevalent. Drinking is definitely part of the culture, and so are the partying, drugs, and hooking up. And this was just something I saw in my day to day. Especially, funny enough, I was working at the dining hall, and dude, I'd be making pizzas in the dining hall, and I heard some
heinous.
stories, listening to the sorority girls and the frat guys, talking at the tables. I overheard some crazy wild things, and let me tell you, bro, being in a frat is not worth it whatsoever. You might think you're getting connections, having fun with your boys, or whatever, but dude, you're just sucking yourself into a draining loop of negative vibes, drama, like negative consequences. Always worrying about what's gonna happen. Is kind of the vibe I've been getting from any and all people involved in a frat or sorority. And also another thing, dude, sorority girls don't do
Jack shit.
I'm not gonna lie, they just stand around and talk about whatever it is they're talking about. And all they ever do is see them herd up like a
Pack of buffalo in the middle of the American Midwest and just trying to like gossip constantly. I don't even know like what their key goal is in life besides just gossiping and pretending to like guys. I don't. Yeah. So yeah,
So yeah, be very. I guess that's about all the things I kind of have to reflect on. I just had a full time job interview last week, and it seems very promising. They seem to really like me. So I mean, I'm wrapping up this phase of my life of being in college, and it's just like I don't know where to go from here besides like working and kind of pursuing YouTube more and more. Definitely feel like I've been a little bit lost lately, but I think that's also a good thing because you kind of need that feeling of if you're in high school, you'll probably feel the same thing if you're not going into college, but you kind of need that feeling of just like being alone and lost to really kind of pursue to know what you want to pursue in life, to know what you want to go for in life. So, yeah, don't get tweaked out about college. It's all going to work out. The thing I learned, the big idea that I learned from the last 5 years of my life is that whatever does happen to you, good or bad, it's all part of a bigger plan that you won't understand until you're older. So it's all gonna make sense, bro. I hope this video at least kind of entertained you, helped you out. And yeah, I'll see you on the next one.